I believe that learning more things is personally fulfilling. At the end of the day, most of us got into teaching Pilates because we love learning, we love moving, and we love helping people feel better in their bodies. So exploring new modalities is a reminder that you, teacher out there listening to this, you're still a student too. And you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to learn new things. You're allowed to say Pilates is not the only thing that I love, but there's also other things.
Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Hannah, in case we haven't met. So I've been a Pilates teacher for a couple decades, yoga also, and many different fitness modalities. I am a former dancer and I also created a barre modality. So that's a little bit about my background, and I think that's important to know as we go into this, that my studio, I have an online studio and the physical studio, which is in Nuremberg, Germany, where I have a team of teachers working with me. So I'm giving you that background because when we jump into this theme, I want you to know that it comes from my experience of owning the physical studio for about 10 years, and then also teaching a couple decades, and just having also the advantage of seeing many studios throughout the world because I've worked in so many different studios as I was touring when I was a dancer. Or not really touring, but as I was living in different countries and different cities, I was also working in many different gyms, yoga studios, Pilates studios. So I have the advantage of seeing many different insides of places of what works and what doesn't work. Which brings us to a big question that I seem to be popping up more often is for our Pilates teachers and studio owners. It might be more for the studio owners, but let's get into it. The question is, should you add another modality to your offerings? Okay. Now, I'm seeing this pop up in a lot of different ways in the different Facebook groups, also on Instagram, because Pilates is in such a big boom right now. A lot of the yoga studios are noticing that their Pilates mat classes are filling up if they've added that modality, and they have to continue to add more Pilates classes. And then also vice versa, by adding a new modality, then the studio space suddenly gets filled out really fast. So I think that there's a lot of excitement there about offering something new, but I think it's also very important that you look at all the pros and cons to see if it works for you, and that we don't just do the next nice, bright, shiny things syndrome. You don't just jump into purchasing new teacher trainings and new equipment without really thinking about the strategy behind it. So my job today is to bring you through a whole bunch of ideas, some pros, some cons, who should consider this, and what you might want to be thinking about in the background. First off, or maybe this is second off already, I would like to say that I know that Pilates is an incredible method, and for many people, it's the foundation of what they're doing, whether they're teaching or practicing. But as this industry evolves, we're seeing a lot of studios and teachers expanding into new areas. Okay, they're integrating new modalities, or maybe these modalities aren't new, but it's new to them. Things like yoga, barre, strength training, massage therapy, and even physiotherapy. So what does that mean for you as the teacher? What are those pros and cons of adding different modalities? We're going to talk about best options to consider and decide if it's really right for you. If you're a solo instructor or a studio owner, I think this episode hopefully will give you at least some thoughts to make an informed choice. So let's get into it. Let's start with the benefits, because there's a lot of upsides to expanding your offerings when it's done with intention. Okay. Those of you that have been listening to my podcast for a while know that I'm not ever going to tell you whether you should or shouldn't do anything. Really, this podcast is about exchanging ideas, right? It's about going a little bit deeper so that you make the best choice for you. And that for me is always about considering your options and then intention. What is the intention of doing something? So adding this new modality or something else, whether it's you're adding a sauna or a cold plunge or whatever, it could be a powerful move for you and the studio owner. But we need to decide if those benefits are right for you. Okay, so one thing that I was thinking about is it's going to attract new clients and broaden your audience. That has definitely been for us in our own studio. So adding another modality opens the door to new demographics, new people. Not everyone is ready to start with Pilates. A part of it is because there's a lot of ideas when it comes to Pilates, right? There's a lot of stereotypes. Some people might think it seems too intimidating. For some people, they think it's too gentle. Those who haven't done it. So getting past that stereotype by adding a different modality might be different, might help you attract more people. For example, if you're thinking about adding barre, you might be attracting more high energy clients, maybe more dancers into your space. Yoga could maybe draw in people that are seeking more mindfulness, maybe stress relief. I've had other episodes specifically about yoga. You could check those out. Strength training. Strength training is very important. That might appeal to different athletic clients as cross training. We know that Pilates is cross training as well, can be cross training. So it could be that if you're adding strength training, it might be able to attract people that are seeking more performance-based goals. Offering variety gives people a different way into your studio, even if it's not through Pilates initially. Another way is that I think a pro is it increases client retention and engagement. Let's face it, even if you are, if you're even a very creative studio, doing the same thing can lead to boredom. Even the most loyal Pilates clients might crave something new even after years of doing the same format. So by offering a mix of modalities, you're helping clients stay mentally engaged, physically challenged, and emotionally connected to their bodies and the work that they're doing. Variety, in our case, increases motivation. Cross-training, it keeps the nervous system engaged. It keeps them engaged in what they're doing. And movement is something that they look forward to do. This is in the best case scenario always. It's not just that they come in and it's like clicking the checkbox. Okay, I've done it for the day. But it's something that they're really excited about doing all the time. We want to deliver on our promises of what we've said that we're going to do for them. And it helps that retention and it helps the engagement of them within your own studio space. Another pro could be that it creates new revenue streams for you. This is a big one, especially for us studio owners. Adding a new modality gives you more options for classes, for workshops, private sessions, hybrid memberships, maybe even in the future, teacher trainings. It helps diversify your income, which is really smart for sustainability of your business, especially during seasonal changes, economic shifts. We're going through one worldwide, right? And life disruptions like illnesses or parental leaves. Just the more revenue streams we have, the more stable the business can be. Now, there is a caveat, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. It can also, so another pro, we can boost instructor and team creativity. For teachers, this depends on if you're going to be adding team members in there, or are you adding, if you're not adding the team, but you're retraining the team that you have, or just yourself. We know that, or at least I feel that teaching the same modality day after day, year after year can eventually lead to burnout because you're saying the same things over and over. So learning something new and teaching a new method can really ignite your own passion and make your teaching feel exciting again if you're feeling that burnout, so that you can even come back to your regular Pilates classes with new eyes, fresh cues, deepen your own movement intelligence. So it really helps you break out of your own autopilot and explore new ways of connecting with your students. Your own movement practice evolves as you are learning something new, and that always is going to benefit your own teaching. Another big pro that I see is that it deepens your own movement understanding. Learning another method helps you see the body differently. For example, in strength training, you're going to learn about load tolerance and progressive overload. This, unfortunately, isn't taught enough, for example, in our Pilates teacher trainings. So this is, I think, very interesting and really important to learn. In yoga, you're going to get a deeper understanding about breath, stillness, emotional regulation. Depends on, of course, what type of yoga you decide to learn. But that's a whole nother world of movement and deepening that experience with movement. In barre, you're going to develop an eye for rhythm, for endurance, posture, and these high rep formats. Barre is very, very dynamic. So you're going to understand movement, very complex movement, in a different way. And these tools are going to give you a broader base of knowledge that you could draw from then when you're going back into your Pilates, when you're cueing, when you're modifying, how you're supporting your clients. And that's always a good thing. Another pro, it could help you stand out in a very crowded market. I mentioned at the very beginning, Pilates is having a boom, right? And there are many Pilates studios now out there. They're popping up all over the places. So it might offer you a little edge, depending on which modality that you've chosen to add into it. It might give you a little edge, a little bit of differentiation. You might be able to take whatever modality and develop your own signature class style of, maybe there's a fusion out there. Maybe you're really working on filling a niche that the other competitors that are in your area don't have. You want to be the go-to studio or teacher for a well-rounded and intelligent movement experience. I really believe that clients are looking for depth and variety, not just the latest trend. You might get those people that are knocking down your doors to try out the reformer, right? Like you might get them into your studio because of that. But if your offerings are grounded in quality and in an education, they're going to be coming back beyond the trend, right? Beyond the latest TikTok or Instagram. Another pro, we're increasing accessibility and entry points. Okay. So some clients find Pilates physically or mentally demanding at first. A complementary modality can act as a bridge, helping them build confidence and trust before transitioning into a Pilates practice. Now, if you are a studio with your reformer, with your Cadillac, with all these things, when they walk in, that is very scary. It could be very overwhelming for people. Depending on the way that you teach, it is very taxing mentally to be able to keep track of all of these different cues and the precision and stuff. So it might be a different modality makes things feel easier for them. So for example, a fitness-based class may feel more familiar to them. Yoga might help them build more breath awareness and more ability. And yoga has been around for a long, long time, but at least in trend, people understand a little bit more what yoga is. Barre might be the perfect way to get them to feel stronger and more upright in their posture. And then you do Pilates a little bit later. Maybe people are more drawn to the music at first. And then maybe you can get them into the Pilates method because then they see their successes over there, and then you ask them to try something else out in the Pilates modality, and it deepens and enriches their experience. Another pro would be that expands your own professional network. Training in another modality introduces you to new professional community. other studios, other teachers, different mentors, like continuing education circles. This can lead for you to different, collaborations, different referral networks, different guest teaching opportunities, if that's what you're looking for, different cross promotions on your social platforms, if that's what you're looking for. So you build credibility not just as a Pilates teacher, but just as a well-rounded movement professional. Another pro I find is that you can better support your clients' goals. Not every goal can be reached through Pilates alone. I know, shock. But if your client wants to run a half marathon, gain upper body strength, heal from chronic pain, manage anxiety through mindfulness, it's understanding what Pilates can offer and what it can't offer. We have to be truthful about what it can't offer. So adding another modality to your toolkit allows you to tailor programs more holistically and meet people where they are without needing to send them to another place. I believe that learning more things is personally fulfilling. At the end of the day, most of us got into teaching Pilates because we love learning, we love moving, and we love helping people feel better in their bodies. So exploring new modalities is a reminder that you, teacher out there listening to this, you're still a student too. And you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to learn new things. You're allowed to say Pilates is not the only thing that I love, but there's also other things. And as you get more excited about learning something new, that will ripple down into every class you teach. Your excitement will be palpable and other people will get excited about it. While expanding your offerings can be exciting and beneficial, there are real challenges to consider, especially if you're a solo instructor or a small studio owner. So we're going to go through those now. All right, friends. Additional time and financial investment. Okay. New certifications, workshops, equipment, insurance, whatever, continuing in education, it all costs time and money. Right? So do you have the time to commit to learning something while still teaching full time? Will the investment pay off financially in the long run? And it's really important that you assess your own bandwidth personally and professionally before you jump in. Okay? And this is something only you know. You run the risk of diluting your brand. If you offer everything to everyone, your brand identity can become confusing. If you are a studio and you're, oh yes, we have sauna, we have cold plunge, we have reformers and Cadillacs and chairs and hot yoga and hot Pilates and HIIT training and massage therapy and. If you are offering too much, it might dilute it. So you have to be really understanding of what are you known for? Are the offerings aligned with your values, your expertise? If you're a Pilates specialist, will adding a high-intensity fitness class confuse your core audience, or is it going to be something that's beneficial, right? So I really want you to think about more is not always better. More can just be more, right? So we want to be strategic about the things that we're choosing to add. You may stretch yourself too thin here. So we have to look at the basis of your studio. Like, is this going to add more admin work? Yes, it will in the short term, but we want the long-term payout. So think about, you're going to have to add new class descriptions, scheduling, different type of marketing. You're going to add more teaching hours to accommodate these different audiences. Are you a person that suffers from mental fatigue because you're switching between different methods or teaching styles? For me personally, I love that. This helps my brain flourish. I love teaching different things in my day. But if that's not who you are and you need to keep it pure in one thing, then this is not for you, right? If you're already close to burnout, adding something new might feel more like a burden than a gift. Okay. And again, only you're going to know this. Another con, integration isn't always seamless, right? Some modalities don't fit naturally into the Pilates framework, the studio framework. For example, like a traditional vinyasa yoga class might clash with the flow of a Pilates-based schedule. You need to look at your schedule. Where is it going to go? What types of people are going to be there? Sometimes it's just too big of a jump and it's not going to jump between those modalities, and it might not be helpful. Barre, for example, requires a different type of musicality and tempo. Mostly those are upbeat. That might feel out of place in a very quiet, slow-moving studio. So when we're talking about integration, you're going to want to go in with clear strategy and a communication plan about how you're integrating this new modality. And you don't need to do this at the very beginning. Like, you don't need to decide that at the very beginning of starting a new teacher training. You can learn something and then decide how you're going to integrate it. But I don't think we should expect to just add a class and people to be busting down the doors to get into the class. It is very strategic the way you introduce it. So introduce it and really make it flow into your current class planning. Some of these new modalities may alienate some of your existing clients. Maybe your current community just loves your studio because that's exactly what it is right now, right? So adding something new might make people feel like you're changing direction. Some people are very resistant to try new things, especially if they've joined you for a specific experience. Now, important, you do not need to be everything for everyone. We've talked about this many times on this podcast. Consider how the change will be received and communicate the why clearly, and that will be great. I'm not saying that you should go in and change all of your Pilates classes into a high-intensity barre class right now. That is definitely not what I'm saying. I'm saying adding something might be nice. But if you're communicating that why for the people, I think it could go very, very well. But again, we always run the risks and we need to be aware of those. Another thing that you need to consider is instructor consistency and staffing challenges. If you are running a new modality, you need instructors who are properly trained, instructors that are aligned with your studio culture and consistent in the quality and messaging of what you already have. So we're going to be training people or gathering people that are hiring, trained, and upskilling your team. Like, this takes time, and not everyone's going to want to make that shift. So that's something that you really need to be considering within your own studio. Adding another modality can be a distraction from the mastery, right? So there is a fine line between growth and distraction. Are you diving into a new method because it truly excites you? Are you bored, burned out, or you're chasing trends? Sometimes going deeper into your current method is more beneficial than branching out too soon, right? So sometimes adding a little bit more depth to what you're doing. Maybe it's a program that we offer for you. Train the Trainers is something that many Pilates teachers have gone into with us, and this is where you dive deep into how we learn, how to cue different, how to understand to create better community within your studio, how to coach better. Maybe it's that. Maybe you don't need to jump into the next trend, but maybe what you're searching for is just a level of depth of the way that you're teaching, but also excitement within your own business. How do you make that a little bit stronger so that it becomes profitable and sustainable for you? Okay, so we don't want to distract from what we're doing. You'll know if it's the right time. And if it's not the right time to add something yet, or if you're curious about that, reach out to me. I'd love to have these conversations with people.
When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers.
Another con: marketing a new offer takes work. You cannot just add a new class to the schedule and expect it to be filled up. Launching a new modality requires education for your clients. It requires thought about your messaging and branding updates. It requires photos and videos and social proof. It requires consistency across the brand and how you're unrolling it. And if your marketing energy is already tapped out, you're done, this might feel overwhelming. This might be a little bit too much for you right now. And again, that is like future thinking. Once you learn the modality, then you're going to be doing it. You don't have to do it from the very beginning. It's just considering that on the step-by-step process before you integrate it, you're going to have to do some marketing work there. And then my last one of a con: this new modality is not going to fix any underlying business issues. So for a small business owner, thinking that something new, like adding something new, like barre or yoga or physiotherapy or something, will attract new clients and solve a slow growth problem, it won't. The truth is, if your current systems, your class structures, or your marketing aren't working, if your current funnel isn't working, layering on a new modality is not going to magically fix things. I'm sorry. Then we need to go back and we need to really look at your business structure, because you may end up stretching your limited resources even thinner. You might be diverting focus from what really needs attention. Maybe it's improving client experience. Maybe it's really about refining your brand. Maybe it's about building stronger retention systems. Okay. So by adding something new, it doesn't fix those things. You really need to ask yourself, is my current business model solid? Is it sustainable? Have I maximized what I already offer? A new offering should come from a place of stability and vision, not desperation or distraction. That is an important point for all of our studio owners out there. Okay. I love this type of work, that working in your business, right? Working in there to make that business model sustainable for you. That's really important. So adding another modality is not a decision you rush into. The benefits are real. Like, they can be really financially lucrative. It could really make people happy within your studio. You can have great client successes. You can really niche out a market for yourself that, like client retention, client engagement, community building. Those are all amazing things. But if you're going to do it, I really want you to do it intentionally. I want you to do it strategically and in a way that aligns with your vision for your teaching and your studio. All right, friends, we've explored the pros and cons of expanding your offerings. So let's talk about some real world options, because adding a new modality shouldn't just be about what's trendy or what you think you should do. It's about finding something that's going to serve your clients and support your studio or teaching practice in a sustainable way. Okay. I use that word a lot, sustainable, right? You want to think long term. So what I thought would be helpful is I'm going to talk you through some of the most popular modalities Pilates teachers have been considering adding, what each one might bring to the table, who it could be for, and some things to watch out for if you're thinking about adding it. Let's just go quickly through yoga. Yoga is a beautiful complement to Pilates in so many ways. It brings breath awareness and mobility. It brings a sense of calm and introspection, depending on, of course, which type of yoga. There's a lot of different modalities of yoga. And some clients might really need that, especially those clients that are dealing with stress or burnout. Your typical yoga-loving client might be someone who's looking to balance their nervous systems. Maybe they're easing back into movement and looking for something gentle and mindful, if that's the type of yoga that you've decided on. Yoga can also be a soft entry point for people who are intimidated by the formality or the structure of Pilates. It might give them a feeling of success in movement first, and then maybe they're curious to explore something more. That said, yoga and Pilates do come from very different traditions. There is a lot more depth, maybe spirituality to and ethics to yoga. And that is not something that we have in Pilates. So they do tend to attract very different people. In my personal studio, my Pilates people and my yoga people are different people. They really, when I offer a Ashtanga yoga teacher, so for those of you that are not familiar with that, it's also like a power yoga or a vinyasa flow, something that's pretty strong. Those people are not the same. Pilates people and yoga people, in my experience, even though I offer something that's very strong, those audiences were completely different. So they didn't cross over the way that I thought they would. And that is absolutely okay. It did create a different revenue stream in our studio, but it wasn't that they were, taking Pilates classes. You need to communicate how yoga fits into your bigger picture. Adding, a hatha yoga class, something that's more gentle, might be off message, or it might be perfect fit for you. It just doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means that you need to communicate how it fits in. Let's talk barre. Barre is one of my personal favorites. It brings energy, endurance, posture, strength through these like small controlled movements. It's rhythm based. I love music and it's just a ton of fun. So clients who love barre tend to be fitness enthusiasts. They want to feel the burn, or people with dance background, or they danced when they were younger. Barre isn't just for dancers at all, but for us, barre works beautifully with Pilates. It reinforces the same messages of alignment, posture, core strength. It adds a little sparkle, a little bit of sweat, a little bit of sass within there. It's great for people that really want to feel like they've got a good workout, can be low impact, so it's accessible to a lot of people. We personally, in our Perfectly You barre method, we also have not just the low impact, but we have higher impact. We have HIIT training within so cardio barre, and we also have a strength-based barre class so that we're lifting heavier weights in there. So that's how we package that in our own studio. So you know what? I've just decided next episode is going to be about integrating barre in Pilates studio. So listen to that next time. If there is a potential clash, it's going to be in the tone and the energy. So a high vibe barre class might feel jarring in a studio that's known for a very calming vibe. So it really depends on how you're programming your barre classes and how you frame it. Really, the reason we're so passionate about our own barre teacher training, because it is the way that our barre teacher training goes. It's designed to fit within a Pilates studio. So maybe I'll talk about that in an upcoming episode. Let's go into, though, strength and functional training, because this is a modality that might work for you. This is becoming increasingly important, especially for clients over 40. Let's just not even say that. Let's say everyone needs to build bone density, maintain muscle, and feel stronger in daily life. Strength and functional training is amazing for clients who've plateaued, who want clear, measurable gains in their training. It's an excellent way to bring men into your studio who haven't quite connected with Pilates yet. The caveat, it can shift your studio vibe. You might need different equipment. You might need different cueing and class formatting. But done well, it gives your clients the tools they really need. We know that the science says we got to be lifting weights. We got to be strength training heavy. So if you add that in, it positions you into a comprehensive wellness space, not just a niche fitness studio. Okay. So we have class formats within our own space. Our reformer strength classes, those are based on not only using the reformer, but also functional training within that space. They lift heavy and they're using the reformer and going back and forth. It is a high resistance class. That's how we do it. And we also, in our power Pilates classes, that is a heavy weight class. We use the fundamentals and the principles of Pilates and some of the movements, and we integrate then functional training in there because we're trained in that area. Okay, so it is a way to do it, but I do love strength and functional training. Another thing you might want to consider is massage therapy or myofascial work. So this is really shifting gears into more recovery-based modalities. These are not typically group class offerings, but they could be incredible for client retention, also helping people feel safe in their bodies. If you have the space for it within your physical studio space, clients dealing with chronic tension, pain, or high stress can really deeply benefit from these services. And those clients are more likely to stay in your own ecosystem if they're feeling really supported. It is important to note that this does require a dedicated space in your studio, a quiet environment, and very clear boundaries between manual and movement work. You really want to stay within the scope of practice unless you're certified in those methods. So I'm saying this is great stuff. You need special training for it, and you need to make sure that you're staying within the lanes of what that modality is and when it is being offered. Please understand me, I'm not saying that you need to be massaging Pilates clients in the middle of a Pilates class and doing things like that. I'm very much against that. I'm saying that if you're adding something into your studio, you might want to consider it and having a separate space for it. And that might be a brilliant way for you to expand your offerings. Okay. And this piggybacks right onto physiotherapy and rehab-based movements. So if you are a person passionate about rehab or working closely with clients post-injury or surgery or expanding into clinical movement or physio-based training, this can be such a fulfilling space to work in. It also builds trust. Clients see that you are understanding their body and their recovery journey. You might be able to get referrals from different medical professionals or build partnerships with physios or orthopedic doctors in your area. But this one comes with a big asterisk. You must stay in your lane. Okay? You have to do the training. You need to make sure that you are, if this is someplace that you want to continue to grow and learn in, you need to make sure that you have the appropriate background. If you're a movement professional right now, if you're going to become a medical provider, you need to make sure that you pursue this, make sure that you have the education and that your marketing is clear and within the scope of practice. Okay. Very, very important there. But how incredible, right? Like how incredible for you to spend the time to really learn and go deep into that area. Could be very fulfilling. Another thing would be like a dance-based movement. You know, we talk about this. There's so many Pilates teachers that are coming from a dance-based background. So that could be something that you can consider, you know, adding an adult ballet class, a cardio dance, expressive movement class. These classes are joyful. They're musical. They attract people who want to connect with their bodies in a creative, emotional, way, a different way. There's a lot of different places that offer great training. Let's say one that is lovely is Dance for Parkinson's. That is a dance-based class specifically for people with Parkinson's disease. It's great. It could be great for your, attract in that specific modality, attracts people in our senior community or in people that are within the Parkinson's community. That might be lovely to add into your studio. That might be a great revenue stream. You're giving back to the community. It's fun. And it could be something, as we're talking about, World Dance Day is coming up. It's just on my mind because we're building something out in our own studio. But dancing and dance-based modalities, like that would also be your barre-based modality, is a great way to build community. And, some of those dance-based movement practices are less about form and it's more about feeling. Something to think about. Some Pilates clients may not love to learn choreography if it's a choreography-based one. So it's going to be helpful to label these classes clearly. You might want to introduce them as pop-ups or theme-based events to test the interest in that level. At the end of the day, no modality is inherently right or wrong for your studio. The key is really knowing your clients, know your brand, and ask yourself, does this enhance what we already do? Does it support our vision? Does it serve the people that we most care about in your community? And if it's yes, it might be ready, that might be time to really start thinking about the modality. So just quickly, let's wrap this up. You've looked at what's out there, some ideas of what's out there, who it's for, and let's talk about you, because adding another modality isn't just about trends and what's popular. It's about what's right for your business, your energy level, your mission. So let's ask just a couple questions before you make that leap. Does it align with my teaching philosophy and brand? This is a big one. Okay. Does it reflect the way that I want to teach, the way I connect with my clients, and what I want my studio to feel, what we stand for? If you are all about slow, intentional movement, adding a high intensity HIIT class might not land well. On the other hand, if something like barre or functional strength, maybe that works for you, if it's taught through your lens and your values. Think of it like this: every offering is a reflection of your bigger message. So what are you trying to say? Question: do I have the capacity mentally, financially, and emotionally? This is an easy one to overlook if you're feeling excited or inspired, but let's be honest, learning something new takes energy. It takes training time. It takes marketing energy. It takes admin areas. So if you're already stretched thin, adding more can lead to burnout, and that is not what we want. That is a big part of why I have this podcast for you. I want to inspire you. I want to help you out of this burnout. We don't want to dig in deeper in burnout. So I want you to pause and check with yourself. Do I have space in my calendar? Can I create space in my calendar? Can I afford the training or the equipment? Or is it something that I already have with minimal change that I can do that? Are there payment plans? Is it going to pay out in the long run and help me grow my studio or my teaching? Do I have the bandwidth to support something new and give it a real chance to thrive, right? We need time to learn. We need time to implement. Are we going to create that space for it? Question: will my clients actually benefit from this? Sometimes we fall in love with an idea, but it doesn't always mean that our clients will too. So we got to ask, is this something that my current clients have asked for? Is it going to solve a problem or fulfill a need in my community? Does it make the experience better or deeper in some way? So going back to the first question, is something my current clients have asked for? They might not know to ask for it, but we can deduce, like if they've never taken a barre class, they're not going to know to ask for barre. It does. But is it something that you can imagine really fits in there? How does the experience of this new modality going to make it better or deeper for them in some way? Does it help them get stronger, more mobile, more connected, or just enjoy movement more? Then that's a win. If it's something that only you are interested in, it might be worth exploring as a passion project first before you bring it into your business. And that's okay too. That is also a strategy of, that's also a great way for you to do something for you. It doesn't mean that right away it needs to be thought about bringing it to your business. All right. Have you already optimized what you currently offer? And this is a real biggie for small studio owners. We often think that adding a new modality will just bring in more clients or fix a slow season. But here's the truth. If your current classes aren't full, if your systems aren't solid, or if your messaging isn't clear, adding more is not going to fix it. In fact, it could really make it worse. You could be spreading your energy thinner over more things. So before expanding, take a hard look at what you're already doing. Is it working? Are your clients happy? Is the atmosphere in your studio right? Is your schedule sustainable? If you haven't fully optimized what you're already built, I want you to start there. Strengthening the foundation before you add more floors to the house, right? Another thing is could I test this out first? You might not need to go all in right away. In fact, maybe I don't even recommend that. Maybe you might want to try a pop-up class, a specialty workshop, a short challenge. You might want to see how it feels for you and the clients. Maybe a small test run might tell you way more than a business plan could, like see if it works. Maybe adding a once a month offering is enough to bring in a fresher vibe to your studio without overhauling everything that's there. So the bottom line, expanding offerings can be powerful, but it really needs to come from a place of alignment with your values, curiosity, and clarity. So I want you to take the time to reflect, listen to your clients, and more importantly, listen to your gut. If you're feeling excited and steady about it, that is your sign. There's always a little bit of nervousness and excitement. Nervousness and excitement go hand in hand. Being excited about something is good. So if you are like, oof, this is kind of exciting, I'm ready to do it, maybe that's your sign after you've gone through and really done the depth of ask yourself the questions. At the end of the day, expanding your offerings should feel exciting, not exhausting. If you're feeling pulled towards a new modality, trust that curiosity, but I want you to move with intention. So don't just expand to fix a problem. Expand to elevate an already strong foundation. So whether you're adding barre, yoga, strength, or something else, make sure it reflects the why behind your teaching. If you're excited or interested in exploring these ideas further, maybe check out one of our continuing education workshops. Train the Trainers is one. Or stay tuned. We're going to have more conversations like this on our podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with another teacher or your studio owner in your network. Let's keep this conversation going. If you would like more information about our ongoing teacher trainings or continuing educations, make sure that you get into our newsletter. We offer all of that information over there. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this episode was helpful. Reach out to me if it was, and I will see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You can also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.